Welcome to World of Monsters, Gods and Goddesses, Deities. I'm Monster Master Arthur, and today we'll be talking about a god of many faces, many names. Ladies and gents, a moment of respectful silence to Quetzalcoatl, or Quetzalcóatl, Mayan Kukulkán, the plumed or feathered serpent. Now, before we delve too deep into this incredible flying reptoid, we must lift the clouds of uncertainty on the mystery of Quetzalcoatl and all of his representations. So to make it quite clear who we will be discussing, here is a very brief rundown of all the names and characters associated with Quetzalcoatl. If you find further fascination in the various branches of these deities, and the Mesoamerican world creation myth, allow this to be a beginning, a hallway lined with many doors, a glossary, if you will, to this journey. Here are the various names associated with Quetzalcoatl and the linked attributes. Name: Quetzalcoatl. Attributes: deity associated with fertility. Hun Nal Ye. Attribute: god of corn. Nine Wind. Attribute: god of wind. Acatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl. Attribute: god and Toltec cultural hero. Yes, and this is where Quetzalcoatl as god, priest, and cultural hero gets mixed up and confused with the image of the character called Ehecatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl, who had the same name. This Quetzalcoatl performed feats as a warrior, governed the city of Tula at its highest, but then also lost the throne and finally abandoned his kingdom. Continuing with the names: Ehecatl. Attribute: god of wind. Ehecatl Quetzalcoatl. Mexica, creator god. Mexica being the indigenous people of the Valley of Mexico, known today as the rulers of the Aztec Empire. The greatest of numerous temples of Cholula, the second most important city at the time, was dedicated to Quetzalcoatl as Ehecatl, whose image was populating the area. He is said to also have freed goddess Mayahuel from the monster Tzitzimime, and thereby acquires pulque, a fermented agave juice which infuses happiness into this whole humanity life creation. Then we have the name Kukulkán, Kukulkán, and Kukulkán with a slightly different spelling. The name and emblem of a character of Mexican origin, mentioned in the historical chronicles of Yucatan. And the linked history to this is the first documentation of the presence of Quetzalcoatl among the Maya, which was written by priest Francisco Hernandez in 1545. Kukulkán was said to have come from the west, with no wife, no children. He was considered good and was called Quetzalcoatl. It was also documented that feathered serpent worship was found to date back as far as the late pre-classic period, 400 BC to 600 AD, early classic, in Teotihuacan. Name: Kucumatz. Kucumatz, a Quiche name, and I do apologize if I mispronounce some of these names or wordings. Quiche being the descendants of the Mayan people of Guatemala. A Quiche name given in the Popol Vuh to a creator god of the cosmos. The Popol Vuh is a collection of written texts of mytho-historical narratives of the post-classic Quiche kingdom in Guatemala's western highlands. Name: Nacxit, a Quiche name associated with Quetzalcoatl. Hun Hunahpu, older brother of the first twins in the Popol Vuh. His twin was Hun Hunahpu. Name: Hunahpu. Attribute: older brother of the second twins of the Popol Vuh. Name: Xbalanque, or Xbalanque. Younger brother of the second twins of the Popol Vuh. So as the explorer or historian soon discovers, Quetzalcoatl is far more than a simple deity with a single purpose and corresponding tasks. We see the name Quetzalcoatl in various god, messiah, as well as priest forms. Quetzalcoatl was a god patron. He was the patron god to where Mexican nobles studied in high offices of priesthood and government. Quetzalcoatl's patronage transmitted learning, writing, as well as knowledge of the mysteries of the sky, the earth, and the netherworld, or the underworld, the world of the dead. And yes, there were priests associated with the name as well. The two highest priests who also bore the name Quetzalcoatl also had the responsibility of teaching the wisdoms of the calendar and writing after their god, Quetzalcoatl. Priest Quetzalcoatl Totec Tlamacasqui was dedicated to the Mexican god Huitzilopochtli, and the other priest Tlaloc Quetzalcoatl Tlamacasqui, was dedicated to the rain god. Toltecs, who some consider the first artisans, were the first to populate this earth, the first who came to the lands known today as Mexico. Quetzalcoatl was depicted as a model of priestly virtues. The Toltecs had the great temple devoted to him. They were also the inventors of art and writing, medicine, the first herbalist doctors, and excellent tradesmen, skilled in astrology and the first to keep count and compute the days of the year. All this had its origin in Quetzalcoatl. So not only did the priests hold the same name as their god, but also his doctrines that illuminated the people. This god Quetzalcoatl, who brings to the earthly world the benefits of civilization. Quetzalcoatl, the plumed serpent. The name itself is a combination of the Nahua word for Quetzalli, alluding to the bird with brilliant feathers, and coatl, serpent. Quetzalcoatl. And this is the deity we will be further examining in this episode. The plumed serpent. So as the ancient reliefs reveal, the plumed serpent had a rattlesnake body, the green feathers of a Quetzal bird, a stylized head with ophidian roots, one of the most prevalent symbolic expressions in early Teotihuacan, associated with fertility and the beginning and ordering of time. Quetzalcoatl, a fertility symbol, often appears in an aquatic medium surrounded by lilies, sea conchas, Mexican emeralds, and seeds, all symbols of fertility. Let's take a look at some associated tasks with Quetzalcoatl. He was one of the gods that participated in the creation of the cosmos, separating the sky from the earth and helping support the heavenly vault. Sent into the netherworld to gather bones of ancient humanity in order to forge them into the people of the new era. The creator gods had to consult Quetzalcoatl, and he agrees that the first day of the sacred calendar should be 1. Cipacatl, crocodile. 2nd, 2. Ehecatl, wind. 3rd, 3. Kali, house. The 3 days that represent the 3 levels of the cosmos. The netherworld, heavenly sky, and the earth. In turn, these 3 levels are linked to the 20 days of the month and the 13 months of the year with the 4 corners of the globe. And since Quetzalcoatl was the god that could read all the contents of the sacred calendar, he was most connected with the destiny of humans. In summary, a divine hero who went through adventures and tests to raise humanity and to retrieve their source of food. It is said that when Quetzalcoatl died, he did not appear for 4 days, because he was dwelling among the dead, and that also on the 4th day he was provided with arrows, so that on the 8th day the great star appeared, Venus, the morning star, that the people called Quetzalcoatl, and that it was then that he was enthroned as Lord. It is important to stress the connection here between Quetzalcoatl and Venus, and a beginning of the rainy season, planting of corn, and the appearance of the first green leaves upon the earth. And Venus appearing differently twice a year, also being symbolic of renewal and transformation, such as the snake which sheds its skin, and being the form of Quetzalcoatl. So in conclusion, it seems clear that this entity, Quetzalcoatl, Kukulkán, was forged over a prolonged period of time under the influence of distinct cultural traditions. The plumed serpent's original appearance may have over the ages developed more complicated characteristics, particularly through the Mexican era. The outcome, history and myth blended. These 4 representations. 1. The plumed serpent. 2. Venus and the duality of the divine twins. 3. Ehecatl, the creator god and wind god. And 4. Acatl Topiltzin Quetzalcoatl, ruler of the historic city Tula, from where even more different versions of Quetzalcoatl continue to appear. To the historian, the changeable figure of Quetzalcoatl is to confront the relationships between myth and history. Quetzalcoatl, appearing at such different places and times, seems to correspond with a symbol more than a historic, verifiable figure. So let's take a moment and explore the ancient world creation myth here, particularly from Quetzalcoatl's angle.
Please click on the link now for part 2.